Okay, we are live. Hey, Simon, how you doing today?
Good. Looking forward to this one. Should be an interesting topic for us.
Yeah, I think so. How's your week going so far? What have you been working on?
Spoken to a few new potential clients about GEO, and there's a lot of interest. Obviously, there's loads of people exploring. I'm seeing, because obviously, well, you and I are deep in the game, right? But if we're talking about this sort of stuff all the time on LinkedIn and other platforms, and I get every single advert you've ever seen, like all the different softwares. I must get pitched about 20 times a day. I don't know whether you see the same.
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed with GEO, AEO content. All of my social feeds. I guess every algorithm that's out there knows that I'm obsessed with this topic, so it just keeps reinforcing that.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, which is actually, it really makes me think very hard about how we can, in these types of settings with these LinkedIn lives, how we can stand out from all the noise and say something different, you know?
Well, look, first off, we're live, and not an awful lot of people are doing that, which, you know, we're running a project together in the wild. We're going to show people exactly what's happening, and then show them, more importantly, the results. And, you know, before, well, one of the things I said to you guys when I met you first off was, we need to be able to prove what we're saying, because, you know, the whole industry is awash with tons and tons of people saying what they can or might do. I think I referenced a post in the last live about somebody putting up a set of results that just looked completely made up, and it turned out they were. So I think people got to be very careful, and it is the Wild West again. You know, it's back to the good old days of, there's loads of people peddling software. I saw a piece of software peddled today that was $49 and purports to do everything you'll ever need to do in GEO and AEO. You know, like, it supposedly gets you listed everywhere. I'm like, for $49? Okay, good luck. You know, but
that's pretty suspicious. Yeah,
but that's the game that it's going to be for a while. And until we get to the point of people, and not every, you know, we'll hold our hands up and say that not everybody understands absolutely everything within the space just yet. So, and there is a level of experimentation, but there's a level of knowledge that people need to have before they get to even investing in it.
Yeah. One thing, when there's a very popular product called Otterly. It's one of the big names in the space, and I think they have their starter plan is about $50 or $60 per month. And the thing that jumps whenever I see a price point like that below 100 for this robust AI visibility ranking, the first thing I'm sure of is that they're only doing one run per prompt every time they check. So it's a very randomized, highly variable experiment that they're running. And I don't think that tells you anything, really, because if you run the same prompt, I think we said this last time, if you run the same prompt 10 times in a row, you will likely get 10 different answers. And somebody else, same thing.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I was speaking to a client this week about, he's got a recruitment business, and he wants to be listed in several different towns. And that's the exact conversation we had. You know, he's been experimenting himself, searching in ChatGPT, etc., looking for his business, finding it in one search, then not finding it, getting somebody else from one of his other offices to try and see if they're listed. It's not the way to go about it, right? You need a tool that's going to be robust and reference where you properly are. Because I saw another post today, somebody saying, "Oh, I've taken, you know, I've got 3 times the share of voice than I had 2 days ago." Okay, what, you came up another time, or you flipped a coin and came up? I don't know.
Yeah. Just run it again, and maybe things will change. And then yet again, I'm just going to pull up any comments. I want to, for the audience that is joining us live, I wanted to ask, please drop any comments, because we are watching the comments, and we'll try to reply to those comments in real time if we can. All right.
to prove we're live.
That's right. To prove that this is pre-recorded. You know, it's really weird, Simon, because I've got two screens. I've got the stream right in front of me here with you, and then on my other screen, I'm watching the event, which appears to be on about a 10-second lag, so I can see the comments.
All right.
And it's kind of weird because I glance over at the other screen and I see something. I can see myself talking from 10 seconds ago, which is a little weird.
Well, weirdly, when I do these lives, and maybe it's just me, but I tend to talk to myself, which is maybe odd. But it'd be nice.
Not so much.
It would be nice to think that as we go along and this series becomes more regular, because we're planning on doing a couple a week. As we get more into it and we get into the more in-depth, deeper topics, we get a bigger audience as we go along, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, let's dive into the topic of the day, because there's a lot to talk about here. And we're going to be talking about a knowledge base. And this is one concept that I often do not see associated with the AEO, GEO conversation. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Simon. But 9 times out of 10, when I hear or when I read best practices, articles, and just when I see content of the GEO space proposing their tools and solutions, probably less than 10% of the time do I see a real emphasis on the concept of a knowledge base, meaning that you have a knowledge base that is going to ground all the content and keep it high information gain, keep it accurate, eliminate hallucinations. So what's your opinion on that? Have you seen this as part of the broader conversation much?
No, like you say, not as much as you would hope. And my own personal experience of building a knowledge base was, if I go back to when I was using ChatGPT a lot and Gemini particularly, I just started recording my thoughts. So, and I encourage my clients to do that, and everybody really should be doing that. And one of the exercises that we've done for Stitch, the client that we're going to run this project on, we've actually pulled in all of their sales calls, hundreds of them, and that's pulled out tons of knowledge. But if I take it back to where I started, I just started building things that are in my personality, my own brand guidelines, the way I talk about things. And then you can overlay it with, thought, just things that you know what it's like if you're out and about and you just have a little nugget of information that you've got and you put it, you should record all of that. And I don't think we necessarily do, like just having a notepad, so to speak. And that's the fascinating piece, because you spoke to me a lot about the new knowledge, the knowledge that's not out there in AI or on the internet, and that's what matters. And when you speak to clients, you have to say to them, what do you know that somebody else doesn't? Because that's where the gap is, right?
Yeah, that's the concept of information gain. And I think that's an evolution of the SEO acronym EEAT, essentially, because it's your firsthand experience. You could even take it a step further and say that the LLMs can never actually index what I'm thinking unless what I'm thinking comes out of my mouth, and that gets recorded, and then that gets published on the internet where they can grab it. And if I have real original thoughts and ideas, and that comes out in meetings or in discussions, and I have the opportunity to record that, then that is really something new to the conversation, hopefully. There's something that I'm going to find and pull up really quick. Let's see if I can find this. It's a new device. No, I can't find it, but it's a something that you can attach. You can attach it to your Apple Watch. You can string it around your neck, and then there's a wristband. You can put it on your wrist, and it's a recording device, and you can just tap it and it starts recording. So if you're in a live meeting or you're even in an interesting discussion, you can just turn it on. And of course, there's privacy considerations. And then as soon as you stop recording, it sends it to it sends it to your LLM of choice. And and then it just gives it that context. And I think that's where we're headed here potentially, is that probably the majority of meetings in business are still not recorded. And I think that's going to change over the next couple of years. I think that it's going to
Well,
start to become commonplace.
we should all be recording every single meeting we're in, right? Because just
Yeah.
for the fact that you can translate the AI recording into the notes and the action points and the tasks and follow up and everything else that comes out of it. So you're right, most people don't bother doing that as much as they could, but I don't know that they know the benefits of then pushing that into a knowledge base. As an example, I was with a client this morning talking about their Google Ads campaign and the messaging that's within it. We're worried that they're going to be too generic and fall into the trap that everybody's falling into in terms of it's an industry where they are, it's so hard to get away from what everybody else is saying. Well, the example is they are a HR software. So it's, people talking about time management, employee management, and all of the ads that are on Google are exactly the same. So we then talked around the subject, and one of the headlines that stuck out from that whole discussion, and this was like an hour-long meeting, which you'd very easily lose one of those pieces of knowledge bombs or whatever you want to call them that was dropped into the meeting.
Yeah.
Someone said, well, could we use the headline, Sarah's late for work again? Now, rather than, HR software, this just stood out as something that is completely off the wall, and it's fantastic. It should work really well. We've got to test it, of course, but I've sat in meetings with some huge businesses and, 15, 20 people around a boardroom table, people taking notes, people spewing information out into, to other people, and it's crossing all over the place. Obviously, we can use AI to make sense of that and then hone it. Someone was talking to me about using that set of notes to then understand, can I use it as something to lean on, as a resource to then pick pieces from it, to then use AI as I believe it should be used properly, to then give you the other ideas on top of what you've already thought, if you're with me.
Yeah. I think I understand that concept. Yeah. I did find that that link. It's from MemoKit Gem, it's called. So it's a wristband, or you can do the wristband, you can attach it to your Apple Watch if you have an Apple Watch, or you can get the lanyard and just loop it around your neck. And I guess you could actually just record your whole day here and then send it to your LLM of choice and then have it summarize or do whatever. It's $179 for this. I thought about getting it, but I haven't pulled the trigger on this yet, but I am kind of tempted.
Well, maybe you have to tag them into this post and then they'll have to send you one.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice idea, actually. Yeah. So we just did by the way, this episode is not sponsored by MemoKit, by the way. This is just a genuine suggestion that we're pulling this up. But I could send this over to them and see what happens.
But this whole episode's about the concept that they want to help us use that knowledge, right? Or hopefully not for the other purposes that some other people who are listening may be thinking it could be used for. But like I'd love to have one of these to be able to, just talk while I'm working away on my screen. So I've got 6 screens randomly, but I've grown into 6 screens, and I've got like Claude running on this and 3 or 4 others, and I've got projects here, projects there. Luckily, not luckily, but I have got one of the higher Claude subscriptions now, and I end up with leaving it do a task here and here and here. But I'm sure that's how we're all going to work. But to have something that you could then talk to as well and have it upload on the fly to your own knowledge base would be amazing.
Well, this is it. It looks like my new Fitbit. By the way, I have this a couple of weeks ago, and when I was in the US, I got this Fitbit, and it has this little thing. It pops in, and it's a sensor. So I couldn't have 2 wristbands. That would look pretty lame. But I would probably get the lanyard for around the neck. Here's the Apple Watch, so you can stick it onto the back of your Apple Watch if you have one of those. I think these are going to start to become popular. I mean, people are going to start just recording their days, everything. And it may not only be listening, at some point it's also going to be watching as you walk around. And yeah, wow, it's...
Well, this goes back to one of the conversation I was having years and years ago about, I wrote a book about toasters, right, listening to you. So basically the fact that every single device in your house is listening to you now, right? And we did a load of experiments in the early days of when Alexa was kicking off around saying certain things to generate adverts. So we know the biggest knowledge base on earth, for example, sits behind Google or Meta, or I wonder why. You know, the question is, why did Meta spend $19 billion on WhatsApp? Because it is listening to you, right? Or it is recording the messages that you're sending backwards and forwards. But you're probably right. We're going to move into a world where every piece of knowledge is collected and the AI knows more about you than you probably do.
Yeah. This thing is 0.4 ounces. You know, as you were just describing that situation, I thought about the movie The Truman Show. Have you seen that with Jim Carrey?
Well, I was going to mention Jim Carrey, where we're all going to end up in that.
Yeah. We're just everything. Our entire lives are being recorded, not for a live TV audience, but for the audience of AI. Yeah, it's crazy to think that. I guess what it's going to come down to is, will people trade off privacy for the benefits that this brings? Because it's clear that the privacy is a cost. If something's recording me, there's sometimes I might be at home and forget that it's on and get in a fight with my wife or something, or this could put me in some very uncomfortable positions if I'm not careful. So I can imagine the costs of this, the privacy costs, very clearly. I can't, for a lot of people, I suppose it's not as easy to imagine all the benefits. So probably the immediate reaction to this would be a no, because they can't do that. They can't do that cost benefit analysis really completely if they don't know how good LLMs can be. If they have basically everything you've said throughout the day, and they can tell you, well, I guess how your day went, or
how much of your time you wasted, how much time you spent scrolling, and that's all going to change now, presumably with the big court case that's going to go off in the US against Meta, etc. So, but that said, and it is true, whatever anybody says, we're all carrying a mobile phone around, and that is harvesting data.
It absolutely is, and it's listening. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a Facebook ad in my feed, which is based on something that I had recently spoken out loud and not done any type of internet research on, not had any chat about anywhere. I'm sure of it. Just something that I've said. So I know that the phone is listening, and it's mining that conversation for ad opportunities. And it doesn't surprise me that much. I think Facebook has always been pushing the envelope in this way, really hard.
Well, yeah, look, we had that data. We actually tested it many times. To, if there are people, if you're watching this, just go. If you've got a cat or a dog, or maybe you haven't got a pet, but start talking about cat food or pet products or something that, if you've got a cat, start talking about dog-related products, and you will see the ad 100%.
Yeah.
Within minutes as well. That's the scary thing.
Yeah. Well, with that, Simon, let's transition into GEO Forge's knowledge base, which is called BaseForge. And I think you set the record. I'm pretty sure that you set the single day record for most BaseForge knowledge documents uploaded in 24 hours, because this is amazing. Working with Stitch, apparently Stitch has done a great job of recording sales calls and customer calls. But you were able to dump 1,335 files into the knowledge base. So this is incredible. And I want to take a look at these files. When I look at the titles, it looks like I can see Zoom call, and then I can see what appears to be meeting recordings. There are a lot of WhatsApp Stitch demos in the title, and then some of them are just time-stamped. So I guess that also means it's a time-stamped meeting.
Yeah, there's a ton of conversations with customers in there, but luckily, you know, they've been recording for a fair amount of time. A lot, these guys aren't using the system that I tend to recommend. I don't know whether you know a piece of software called What Converts. And so What Converts, I've been using it for years, recommending it to hundreds and hundreds of customers just because it'll record all the calls. And I wasn't recommending it for a knowledge base reason. I was recommending it so that people could go through and understand where the trigger points were, what people were discussing with customers, how they felt, sentiment. Basically what we should be doing here with a knowledge base, but you don't have to actually obviously do that manually anymore. So we can just get the AI to run through it and tell us what's working and what's not working. So I think, you know, that's probably the fundamental thing we're talking about here, to get to the point where we're understanding far more about our customer base for ourselves than we ever probably could before.
Yeah. There's another angle here, which is beyond training, just providing this broad pool of semantic understanding about a brand. It's also about setting the record straight and being able to capture the voice of the customer. So when we were in our last episode, we looked at a competitor. What were they called? Wappy or something like that? Watty. Watty. And they had 500 G2 reviews. And we saw that if we scraped all those reviews, we were getting a really great, we were capturing the voice of the customer. And we're doing the same thing here, actually, but even better, because we're getting, I'm guessing in 1,300 files, there have to be several thousand unique questions that have been asked about their product or about this industry by customers or by prospects. And this is incredible, because as long as presumably the answers to those questions in those calls were correct, and I assume that most of them were, then what we have is we have the largest Q&A index that could possibly exist. And if we essentially feed this as Q&A or FAQ posts, by publishing FAQ posts reflecting these questions and answers, we're effectively just training the AI on how to answer correctly. So the other aspect, beyond getting recommended and getting chosen and cited by AI, when a customer or a prospect doesn't know your brand, what about when they do know your brand and they say, well, what is the difference between Watty and Stitch? How is Stitch better when it comes to, I don't know, CRM integration with Pipedrive? And if somebody asks that question at any point and it surfaces through this knowledge base, then ChatGPT can give the perfect answer. It'll give the accurate answer. So ChatGPT can become your best salesperson in that respect, when people are prompting with knowledge of your brand, looking for questions about you or to compare you to somebody else. So that's great. And I think now, where do we go from here? And we've got this massive knowledge base. So did you have a comment on that?
No. Obviously, the next steps we've got to do is take this into where are the gaps in the knowledge that is already out there, right? So the old school way of doing that, I don't know whether you can bring up a Google, just a browser, and ask a question in the browser, any question you like, and we'll see. I'll show you the old school way that I used to do this piece of work.
What do you want me to ask?
So just in Google, I can still see GEO Forge. I don't know whether you can share.
I'll switch over to Google. Hold on a second.
So maybe we ask it something that's relevant to Stitch, such as, is it possible to integrate WhatsApp with my CRM system? And I don't know, I have not practiced this one. We'll do it and see whether it brings anything up. So we obviously get some ads, which we would do. Now, I don't know whether if we scroll down, we get to a Q&A section. So if we go past the AI overview, Then we get a few videos. Now you see the people also ask section.
Yeah.
Now I used to go, and you see the click down drop button next to the top one. Now if you click that and then keep clicking it, so it opens and closes and opens and closes, right? Keep going, click it like 5-10 times. Can you see below it? It's now building a whole raft of questions below it. So more and more questions are coming out of Google at this point, all or most of which are supposed to be relevant to what you asked in the first place. Now, each of these will have structured schema or Q&A tags within the sites that they live in. Some of them may be video, some of them, most of them are probably like listicles or Q&A, right? But I used to then pull all of this, give the list to a customer and say, which ones are relevant? Which ones do you think you can answer better? And then take that and build that into what would become a blog or a video. And that was a piece of knowledge, right? So now we're talking about a scenario where what we've described with Stitch, we know 10 times, 100 times more than we ever would have done. We used the AI then within BaseForge to go and examine all of this and other parts of GeoForge to then mash it together to give us this new knowledge base, right? You can probably talk to that better than I can.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating, actually. I'm just absorbing what you told me here with the people also ask, because I've been aware of it for a long time, but I never have really been clicking the way that you showed me. If you just keep clicking repeatedly on the first arrow, open, close, it's going to go down the rabbit hole into that topic. That's what's happening here? So now,
yeah, that's what's happening. So you end up with all of the questions in theory around the topic.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of an early AI, right?
Yeah, it is, because if I know that you're a master of video marketing and YouTube video. If I wanted to create a script that would rank my video #1 for integrating WhatsApp with my CRM, something like that, I would probably need to give all these questions to AI and say, now give me a script where I essentially address all these questions. And would that probably win it?
Oh yeah. So I don't know on this example. If we drop down a few of them, I don't know whether there's any videos in them. So if you just open a couple and see, there's not in that one.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that. Yeah. So look, and it is starting to reference some videos there.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting is they're now dropping the AI overview into the people also ask section. So to talk to your making a video to get it to rank, if, for example, you gave a customer 100 questions that might be asked around their topic, and then you said, pick me the top 20, but let's try and keep them in a theme, right? So you might have a group of 5, another group of 5, and you're building a story around a topic. If you then get the person to make a video answering the questions, and obviously within the video, you can then timestamp the answers, and within the answer, it's got the Q&A schema. You're just following Google's rules. So, and I know we're talking about Google here, not necessarily, any of the other LLMs, but the logic still follows that if you create a piece of content correctly and you're answering the questions, you should, in theory, then get cited, right? Because you built the knowledge base.
I want to check. This is a new discovery for me as well. I'm going to just check this video really quick. I'm going to turn it on. It's just okay. Yeah, it's basically a talking head video with some animation in the back.
When was it published? It's only 3 months ago, right?
It was published 3 months ago. This is the video that we just had up on the screen. So this guy actually has, pretty decent channel, 17,000 subscribers. This video, which was published 3 months ago, has 164,000 views. And here's the arc. So most of these views happen in the first 30 days, actually even the first, say 20 days, actually, if you can follow this graph here.
He may well have manipulated with ads, right? Which again works.
Yeah. this really just demonstrates to me, underscores the importance of video when it comes to particularly AI overviews, GEO in general, but AI overviews mostly, because as we've seen here, let me go back. Let's just see how much presence video thumbnails has in the SERP. So we're going to collapse the sponsored results. So let's get rid of the ads. The AI overview starts with this thumbnail here, with these videos here that I can scroll. If I show all here on the right, these citations have video, 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 video. I would say 25% of this real estate is video.
Yeah.
And then I can scroll down a little bit more. There's a Reddit thread. Okay. Now here is a video section with video thumbnails. There's our guy, Lakshit Ukani, who we just saw. And here's another video we saw earlier. And if I view all, I'm going to see, I guess, all of the video. I'm going to go into the video results themselves.
The video tab,
yeah. But then I have also Ask with AI overviews, which contain video thumbnails.
So Google said, I think back in 2017-18, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but when we were watching it back then, I think Google tried to say that they were going to make the entirety of Google into video by 2020, right? Or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it never transpired. But I don't see why it wouldn't do. And the difference is, obviously, with traditional search, you cannot rank at the top of normal Google inside a month or two, right? Whatever you do, you'd be very lucky, unless you've got a hugely authoritative website. If you start a new YouTube channel today and you make a video about any topic and do the right things with it, you can get it to the top of YouTube inside 20 minutes. Whether it stays there or not is a whole nother ballgame, because it then depends on whether it's consumed and watched and useful. And I believe more so whether it's useful. And that's talking to your knowledge base. And what we're doing with AI now is that content useful? And can it therefore be referenced? And do people want to digest it, right? And if it's interesting and true and referenced across other sites, it will rank, which is, believe it or not, what you're supposed to do with traditional SEO, right? So we're in a world where this will be incredibly important.
Yeah. Great stuff, Simon. I think, by the way, our 30 minutes is up. I feel like we could go on a lot more, but to recap here, what we really wanted to emphasize in today's discussion is that if you want to make this transition from SEO to GEO, which so many people are trying to make today, and do it the right way, and you know that content generation, high quality content generation, is still a cornerstone of the strategy. You cannot just churn out the content. It's got to be grounded in something proprietary that you own. And if you don't have anything proprietary that you own, you better start talking and recording some of your strongest thoughts about your business, your niche. So that's where we are now. I think on the next episode, Simon, which is going to be on Thursday, same time, the next thing I want to do is to start looking at what kind of content topics we can create out of this enormous knowledge base. And then how do we think about content strategy and start to ship content and analyze the quality of that content. So that's what we have to look forward to next time.
Cool. No, I've enjoyed it. And it goes too quick.
Yeah, it sure does. All right, everybody. Well, hopefully you all will join us again on Thursday, same time. We're going to start airing. I'm sorry, did I say Thursday, Simon?
I think we're Friday this week, aren't we?
I'm sorry. It's going to be Fridays. It's going to be Tuesdays and Fridays at 2 p.m. UK and 4 p.m. Bulgaria time. So please tune in again on Friday, and we're going to look at some content recommendations from GEO Forge. And we're going to start talking about content strategy for Stitch, which is now grounded in this robust knowledge base. All right. Thanks, Simon, for another great discussion, and see you again on Friday.
See you soon.
All right.